Welcome to Talk D. I'm Deb, and I'm just as excited as you are on the first episode of Talk D on Dias World's YouTube channel. While we bring in experiences and insights from the industry experts along this journey, who do we have here with us today? Let's just say that there are very few individuals out in this world today who are sincerely passionate about people and their well being and about the countrymen overall. They actually set out in the pursuit of taking measures, not just in theories, but in actuals. That would improve the ecosystem in real time. Today, we have that wonderful individual who had been conferred upon with the Ramon Magsaysay Award and many other such prestigious awards for his service to the people and his pragmatic idealism. The man who created a dent in the traditional idea of charity in India, the founder of invaluable movement named Goonj, Mr. Anshu Gupta. Welcome, Anshu. I was personally looking forward to this chat, and to say the least, we are honored to have you here with us.
Thank you.
uh, a few questions to start with, as in the kind of recognitions that you have received over the years, the Schwab Fellow, the Ashoka, World Bank's Development Marketplace Award, the Raman Magsaysay Award in 2015, and more. Uh, how has that impacted you as a person and as a professional?
So my straightaway answer is that as a person, it has not affected. I mean, that's what I think about myself. I Whether I am right or wrong, I think that is something the other people have to communicate. I can only talk about my inner feeling and the way I operate or behave. And I remember, a couple of years back, someone coming to me and telling me that Anshu, you have become very arrogant. Okay. So
Arrogant.
I said you are wrong. I said you're absolutely wrong. I have not become arrogant. I am arrogant. Now, your perception is that you only know me for like a couple of years, 2 3 years. Fine. You're not born with me. We were never school friends or college friends and all. You just know me for the last few years. Your perception is that the moment someone gets award or recognition, that person becomes arrogant. So you are coming with that space. You don't know that I was born arrogant. I mean, you know, how do you know that? So you are coming with your perception, and I am coming with my reality. Whether I am arrogant or not, that let the people decide. But for sure, I know that not much has changed in me. We still have the same kind of structure when we were too young as an institution, when we were operating from home, and now we are operating from 20 different offices. We are almost 1,000 plus people, but we still play Holi, Diwali festivals, enjoy chola bhaturas, golgappas, everything exactly in the same way. I mean, what else do you need? We still don't have big or fancy offices for us. It still doesn't happen that if you are in a larger meeting, people will sit on the floor and you will have a chair. It still doesn't happen. So I think if we maintain this, we are okay. Institution wise, certainly, a lot of changes must have happened because two things happen with all these recognitions. One is that a lot of people within the team also feel very good, and all of us feel good because your any initiative, your any crazy idea for which people were calling you mad or whatever, that is recognized. Okay, so you feel good about it. And what I saw, especially when the Magsaysay happened, and after that when the KBC happened, to be honest, KBC in India was became much bigger award than any other because because that's where a large number of people with whom we are working, the remote possible villages where you have community workers and the communities. I remember how in Magsaysay they were distributing sweets. I mean, the people who don't even know what is Magsaysay all about. Okay, but it is just a beautiful gesture for them that something like this happened. So
So, are you experiencing a change in the social responsiveness of the Generation Z or the Zillennials as compared to their predecessors? Uh, is there a genuine transformation, or is it only a matter of perspective?
So every society, every point of time in the history has all kind of people. I mean, if I see last 1 year and I'm so proud of the young generation that way. I mean, right from reaching out to people with food as per need to if I see the young doctors this time, absolutely hats off to them. I mean, because I have myself been to hospital or so many of my colleagues and have gone through such tough phase or relatives and all that. And if you see this younger generation of doctors, that does not mean that I'm saying bad about the older generation because they were also young sometime, fine. They're doing their bit. But if you see the enthusiasm, the risk-taking abilities, the commitment of the younger generation in a few professions, I think that is absolutely fantastic. On the other hand, in many cases, if you see a large number of young people in media, and you feel for many of them you feel ashamed, and you say that what is this new generation doing in the most responsible arm of the society. I mean, not that it does not have good people, but the amount of people who are distorting the narrative and everything. Social responsibility. Yes, a lot of new people have entered. Yes, large number of new institutions have come up. Yes, a lot of people are trying to go deeper and find out the root cause and trying to solve that. And then there are enough people who want to do it for the sake of a good selfie for Facebook. I mean, there's no dearth of people. And I always have an argument with these people and a lot of people who basically right now even stand in support of the Facebook pictures and say that, do something and put it on Facebook and people will be motivated. Okay. What kind of, I think it's like a joke in my opinion, because uh, 20 years back, 15 years back, there was no Facebook and all that fine. And in those eras, we actually fought the freedom movement to whatnot. People get motivated by action. And it's not that if you're not putting it on Facebook, your work will not be visible or your relatives will not come to know. So to satisfy my ego, I put a picture of giving a chocolate to a kid, and I put a selfie there. But that's my ego. It does not motivate anyone, to be honest. I mean, there are 50 professional likers who will like it in any case, but it does not motivate anyone.
There is a difference in what Boonj does as compared to other NGOs. With your Dignity for Work initiative, you don't do daily charity. You actually have people earn material rightfully by working for it, and that makes a whole lot of difference in what Boonj actually is. What led you to this? What led you here?
One thing which we all need to understand, that the voluntary organization or the development sector or the NGO world is the most beautiful world in this country. Fine. I mean, people can say all kind of nasty things. I mean, people can come from Sahara and the Kingfishers and the Enrons of the world and start teaching people ethics and efficiency, or even from PNB and Choksi and whatnot. So they can come and say all kind of bad things. Even the governments can come and say bad things. But last 15 months especially are a proof that how strong is the commitment of the development sector, of the grassroots institutions who are not even getting proper salaries, where you don't even know whether the organization will run after 3 months or not, but you are still standing with them. You don't know H of health, but you are still taking all the risk in the COVID phase, and you are there on the road. I mean, the fact remains, the large number of hunger deaths we were able to save largely because of the common citizen of this country and the NGO sector, right? So I would say that a large number of institutions are doing good. I mean, every sector has bad and good people, but this sector still has larger number of good people because we are entering in this sector with good intention, right? Most of us had an opportunity to do something else or continue what we were doing. So dignity is one of the important part. Unfortunately, large number of people didn't work on the dignity. That's the most unfortunate part, and that also has to go with the culture somewhere, because One example which I always give, that many houses, when we get up from our dining table or the eating space, the most common dialogue is that ye rakh do, XYZ kha legi, that keep it and XYZ will eat, and XYZ is your house help, actually the person who is cooking for you, right?
Been experiencing this since childhood maybe, and no one actually pays attention.
But imagine your 4 5 years old kid is sitting. Now for that kid, that is normal, because there is nothing else which you taught that kid. And that is the reason that when we, like at Goon, we deal with almost 6,000 tons of material every year. Now obviously it is doubled almost in this 15 months. And in that 6,000 tons of material, huge amount of very nice clothes, utensil, footwear, everything comes. Okay? But then you also get blood-soaked undergarment, you also get used sanitary pads, you get absolutely dirty tiffin boxes. There are people who will give you shoe with a logic कि एक पैर का तो ठीक है, but at least one is fine out of a pair. So that, or you know, I tell you, large number of pajamas of women do not have nadas or the string. That's a typical Indian giving habit, that you take out that nada to give it to someone. Large number of men's trouser or jeans do not have a working zip, because so there are double standards in the society where I want to live, and I want other people to survive. And last year's large number of people moving out on roads and walking 1,000 kilometers or 800 kilometers is one of the biggest proof, whether we in our arrogance accept or not. That's a different issue, fine. That somewhere we are messed up in the society. Somewhere our next door person, because of whom I live, I survive, I enjoy, that person does not trust me at all. For every single inch of land in this country, we choose 4-5 people year or every 5 years. We don't trust them. We don't trust the biggest, Fortune 500 people, the employers, We don't trust the next door neighbor. And we prefer to walk 800 kilometers to reach our own village than staying here even for a day. They have actually marrowed thappad. Those millions of people, slapped us, whether we know or we are realizing this or not. So and it is just because we never took care of the dignity.
Many have not realized it yet too.
And just we never took care of the dignity of people, fine? Dignity is something with which you are born. No one gives you dignity. You are born with that dignity. People snatch your dignity. People take away your dignity. जब आपने लोगों के ऊपर, when you started spraying things on people on the road, when police was beating people unnecessarily, although they were not provoking anyone, right? You were snatching the dignity of people in that process. When we give leftover food to people, we snatch the dignity. When we get torn cloth to someone, we snatch the dignity. Otherwise, that person is born dignified. And this is something which, unfortunately, in the development sector, not only in NGOs, the governments, the corporates, the development sector, a whole lot of people have made this particular mistake, because for us they are just numbers. I mean, the same country, same people who go to a chemist shop or a Lala and buy a ultra thin sanitary pad and get it packed in a black polythene or newspaper. The same people go in public, give a pack of sanitary pad to a woman and then take a picture with her.
Double standards. I know what you're thinking, yeah.
Extreme double standards, extreme double. For me, I will even wrap the product in a black polythene. For someone, I will expose the face and put it on Facebook. So, but that is the only thing we realize, and it came from, to be honest, our own family, our own beautiful middle class family, which certainly struggled in those days. This is how it used to happen. But I remember how my mother made sure that the leftover food is kept in the fridge or whatever. Only the food which we will eat, she will eat, or he will eat. Or I remember my father, who also suffered heart attack at an early age, but was very active and all that kind of thing. How when he used to be on rickshaw, and when the rickshaw used to go like this in some places, he used to get down, and then when it used to go down, he used to reach there, and the rickshaw wala often used to be angry with him because he was not matching the speed of the rickshaw. So he was actually wasting time of rickshaw wala that process. But then his regular rickshaw guys started understanding that there is something different.
Well, tell us about the parallel economy that you are trying to build. That is not cash based, but trash based, or maybe I say discard based. What activities of Goonj are a part of this plan?
So the simple model of Goonj is that we started challenging the language and the narrative. Fine. So the moment people said that we are donating our old clothes, we are donating our old shoes or whatever, we challenged that. We said that listen, second-hand goods which we have already used, we are actually not donating, we are discarding. We are giving it because we don't need it. Okay? Will I give my mobile? Will I give my watch? Will I give this kurta? Till the time I love it. Okay. So we are discarding. Just say we are giving it, fine, because we are giving it, and let's start being thankful to the people who are using it, because they are the keepers of our emotion, they are the keepers of our hard work, finances, accounts, whatever we did, to have that material with us. So we need to be thankful to those people that because they exist and they have accepted. That is why my material, my hard-earned money and emotions have got another life. Otherwise, it would have been lying somewhere in the landfill site. Number one. Number two, we said that the biggest problem with the donation mindset, we give what we have, we don't give what people need. Although when you are working with the people, you have to match the needs. So if you are in North India, chana dal is okay. But if you are in South India, tur dal is important. Similarly, size, shape, geography, religion. I mean, ladies' suit. What we get from cities is ladies' suit, which is okay. But village India still needs something else. The traditional dress or sari blouse petticoat. You say that okay, fine. Now the ladies' suits can be used in mountains. But then if you go to Kashmir, the suit which you wear in Delhi, the half one and all, will not be acceptable in Kashmir. So you have to really match the need. Third important point about the parallel economy thing, we said that because we have to keep the dignity of people intact, because sustained charity kills dignity of people, instant charity is fine. So we said that can the village communities or other communities become a stakeholder of the process? They identify their problems, they identify their issues, they work on those issues for a few days, and after a few days of their hard work, they receive this material. So a village will say that we want to dig a well. Someone says we want to clean a pond. Someone says we need to build a road or a bridge. Whatever is exactly as per the need. Decision making is gone in the hands of people. We are not going and saying every village will have a road. So once they work, they receive this family kit. So what happens? The barter economy is back. Barter economy is back with a couple of new currencies. On one side, it is the urban, discarded, underutilized.
Sorry to interrupt. And this barter economy used to be the base of ancient civilization for so long.
Absolutely. Large number of people, the money or the asharfis used to be the property of the rich people and the kingdoms. Fine. The financially weaker section and the middle class of those days was operating without money also. Okay. There was no cash currency in the hands of those people, and purposely it was not given very, very design wise, because you wanted to keep the control. But they were still able to survive. Someone used to, they used to maybe exchange milk with rice. Everything used to happen. So now in our case, that is back with in a very, very big way with new currencies. So as I said, on one side, it is the urban, underutilized, discarded material. On the other side, it is the village or the community wisdom, community hard work, community resources. So like if you have to make a bamboo bridge, every family will give a bamboo and a few days of labor. So money is for the logistics of it. So that's why we say that it is an alternate economy, it is an additional economy, where you are not solely dependent on money. Money is for the logistics. Otherwise, there are so many other currencies, and it's a very dignified way of giving. We have just removed charity completely, because you give a shoe to someone and say, "Ye mera hai, this is mine." People will say, "Yes, it is yours." But then the people have made a bamboo bridge and then received that shoe. You go and say that this shoe is mine. They say, "Hoga tumhara, it might be yours, but I have earned it. You've earned it." You know? So that narrative is changing in this process.
True. A lot of NGOs and like charitable organizations have transactionalized this complete donation thing. One can just go to any website or app or maybe even a payment gateway today, pick their cause and click pay. That's how transactional these donations have become recently. What are your thoughts on this current situation?
So listen, I think there are bad lenses of people, the way they are looking at the development sector. Okay. So many people come even to Gunj and they start talking about when my team interacts and all that. So many people have asked them, "Do you get salary?" What kind of silly question is this? And if you get, how much do you get? Funding agencies will come, will say, "You tell us the cost of dal chawal or whatever you're giving in kit, but we cannot do the admin part." So my salary is admin, and your salary is what? It was a burden on your organization because you're so well paid. What expect from the development sector people? They don't have families, they don't have emergencies. I mean, Vani, one of these leading institution in the development sector, which is just a small consortium, we started just mapping that how many people have we lost of the development sector. Within a couple of days, there were 37 leaders of the development sectors who are no more in this COVID second phase. Do we know them? No one wants to call us frontline worker, although we are the risk takers. Sitting in your homes, beautiful homes, or in your offices and negotiating how much will go in the kit. If we give you 10 lakh rupees, what will happen is absolutely fine. Come on the road and work. Deliver it. Because this world and this country, I think is in a huge amount of bad notion, because we think that by creating roti.com we can get roti. So that's how everyone is talking about technology. You see, what we are not understanding, that right from the person who is growing wheat for your bun, for a burger, to the person who is making a bun, right, to the person who is delivering, is all human being. So development sector certainly needs to be looked at in a different way, because it's a people-oriented work. It's a gang of risk takers who are unfortunately doing a lot of work which ideally we shouldn't have done. But because there are lapses in the systems, there are gaps in the system, that's why you are trying to fill. It is absolutely fine to raise money through different portals, because I think it is absolutely foolish to think that a lot of good work can happen without money. Right? When you need more of money to reach out to large number of people, and especially in this kind of disaster, even if you have 10 lakh rupees, you can only support some 800 or 1000 families, and that too for 10 days of basic ration. There are certain other misconceptions also. Once you give like 5 kg rice or 2 kg dal to someone or 1 kg dal to someone, and you start claiming that we are doing this, people have got this much, that much, whatever. I mean, imagine in cyclones and all kind of things. This is the first time when the west and east both the coast are have gone through such cyclone. Someone has lost something of the last 2 generations, of the last 3 generations. All the belongings, all the savings. We give them 7 kg of dry ration and think this is good enough. How does it operate? So more money needs to be generated, more money needs to be transferred to the people. At least in the development sector, you are able to do a lot of instant work, lot of instant support to people. So I'm a strong supporter that more of such portals should come, and large number of people who cannot contribute to the society with their physical work, they will never go to the villages and work. They will not go to the slums and work. They must contribute as much as possible with money, because that's the only thing they can do right now. Many times we don't need skills of people who are sitting in Gurgaon and Gachibowli, right? Because our organization does not need that. We don't need those kind of tech skills and all. You have a lot of skills. But what you have is that we can put in our hard work. Community organization can take all kind of risk. You put in money because that's what you have, and you also have to pay to the society. You have to pay back to the society, and that's what people are doing. Fortunately, I mean, it's good that so many portals have come up, and it has made giving very easy, and a large number of people in this country participate in this with all the good intentions and give money, material, everything.
So, in a simpler way, we can derive that these transactional donations or charity or interactions also have certain positives if done right.
How do you call it transactional? What is that which is where you are calling it transactional? What point are you calling it transactional?
Press of a thumb, maybe scanning a QR code, press of a thumb, not even getting into the actual action of things. Just scanning a QR code and thinking, okay, fine, I've done my bit of good work.
So that's absolutely fine, because banks' work is to give money or give loan. Bank will not go and do the cow rearing and all that, or the goat rearing. Bank will not do. So there are separate agencies for separate work. Not everyone will go to the field. So if there is a portal where the role of the portal is to collect money and pass it on, portal is making it easy for people to give, and then it is passed on to a doer organization which is in the field. So that's how the entire chain is completed. I mean, consultants of such big companies never go and make their hands dirty. They only consult. So there are and all these roles are important, in a chain to grow.
Clearly, each have their role cut out in this complete process too. So, Anshu, when you first started out, did you experience a lack of confidence in your donors? Like, how did you get past the initial skepticism?
So if you see our journey for first few years were very complicated. No one wanted to give us money also, and biggest flaw was also in us, because and to be honest, that flaw remains there. It's not that we have improved on it. It was very complicated for us to talk to people about money, because the kind of middle class value and self-respect we were coming, it was very complicated to ask for money. And in any case, people also had a lot of misconception, because even today a lot of people think like that when they give material to Gunj, they think their job is over. They don't understand that every single t-shirt or trouser you will give us, that will be sorted by a paid person sitting at a paid place, and it will be transported by a paid transporter. So people do not, unfortunately, understand that there is huge amount of logistical cost involved with every single piece of material. I mean, today you go to mall, and the amount of money you spend on your petrol, you spend on the parking. We never calculate when we give away material. Ideally, the simple way of giving is that whenever you give material to someone, especially to an agency, and which you are not giving directly to the individual, you should just calculate 10-15% of that at least for the logistics of it. Because how does a packet of rice really reach 800 kilometers away from here? So that was the issue. But we didn't ask. We rather chose our own ways of raising money. We made a lot of bamboo clocks. I also learned carpentry in that process from someone. And we used to go to the hearts. We used to make paper bags. We used to sell paper products, whole lot of things. And that's how the visibility started happening, and people started putting some money in our donation box also. And We also said that we will not use the word for material. We will not say donation. We will not send fundraising appeals to people because. And then one of the concept for which a lot of people love, but a lot of people hate also when we go and speak about it. We said that how long will you sell poverty to remove poverty? कब तक नंगा भूखा बच्चा दिखाओगे? You know? How long will you show a naked kid and raise money for that kid? And it has become such a common thing now. I mean, if you see some of these sites which are raising material and also money, and especially if you see medical cases, and the kind of pictures they put of the patients and their family. If you have a COVID patient or whatever patient at your place, if it is one of your child or parents or brother or sister, you don't even let it know the next door neighbor. Okay? If someone comes at your place, you ask your sick person to go in the back room. And I really don't know that how do we really expose people like that? Why do we want to raise money by showing 5 different, tubes and very sad, grim, crying face of an individual and then raise money medical? But if you see, and the portals you are talking about, all those portals are doing that. If you're raising money for food, people are like this, and as if they're pleading and all that kind of thing. There should be something in our voice where if we say that there is evidence that people are hungry and you can become a part of this journey, we should be able to become part of the journey. I mean, one thing, I'm sure we must have made mistakes, and I'm sure when you work on such a large scale, there must be some wrong pictures which we must have put, but we are very, very conscious about it, that at least at Gunj, we will never sell poverty. We'll never sell those pictures, the process.
Do you also experience this lack of confidence at times in your donors?
I don't know. It is up to them. Listen, it's not arrogance. Fine. Again, I'm saying if it is arrogance, then it is arrogance. It's okay. No one is doing a service to anyone. Okay. I mean, if there is an agency like Gunj, our job is to reach out to people and reach material and all other support, because that's what we decided for ourselves. Right. If there are rich people and if there are so-called donor agencies, they are paid to fund. That's their full-time job. So none of us is really doing a service to anyone. We are just doing our jobs. Until the time we keep our head low and understand that this is our job, and if I am in donor agency or if I am in Gunj, my bread is because of that. I'm earning my livelihood also, and also I'm able to fulfill my passion. And that is why, so I need to be thankful to the people who are giving me a chance to enter in their life and do something in those villages and in this community. I think that arrogance of the people with money need to go. Now, whether they have confidence or not, we don't know, because the saddest part is that when you say that you can apply for a grant and the grant is 1 lakh rupees and the form goes in 5 pages, right? And they even want to know your grandfather's name. So you don't understand that you are actually wasting time of the people who are much more needed in the community to do the direct work, instead of filling your forms which you don't even need, you don't even want to know. And there are enough agencies who are completely away from this nuisance, and they are such friendly institutions, and they make sure that not much time is wasted in the paperwork. And I think our friends are those people. We prefer to work with those institutions. Confidence, we try to build whatever, but as a general one, we will not go overboard to send 5 extra report to someone. We will not do that. That's not us.
What you called arrogance, or you think might be called arrogance, I even find the humility in that. You chose to do this. That itself says enough. You have a strong governing body run by well-known corporate executives, including your wife, Meenakshi Gupta, co-founder of Gunj. what brings these brilliant minds like you to a social cause like Gunj and keeps you motivated to do this every day?
So one thing which is very clear is that I don't think that the corporate governance is the best governance. Okay. Otherwise, how can you
Yeah.
see Jet Airways and how can you see Jet Airways, Kingfishers, and Enrons happening? Every day it happens. So let's stop, giving those five big stars to the corporate governance. That is, in many cases, that is one of the worst governance. But they are powerful people. No one does anything to them. Even when the frauds like PNB and Jet Airways and Kingfishers and a whole lot of these frauds happen. Number one, I think the governing body needs to be of the practitioners only, and especially the people who are connected with the field, who understand this subject a little bit, right? Instead of just because they are the good managers. So we don't need in our governing body the good managers only. We need the practitioners, and we all are hooked to this kind of work by simple our passion. Because like I left Escorts, Meenakshi, my wife, left BBC. She was there for almost 8-9 years, looking after media for South Asia, BBC. And I moved from Escorts in '98. But I think we didn't do any sacrifice at all. Not at all. I mean, all that people keep writing about us in their articles and books because that's their lens. That's not our lens. We are enjoying and we are very happy. We are very privileged that at least we had a dream, and we, as I always say, that we are further lucky or happy that we have been working on our dream. And I'm also saying that maybe one more step luckier than that, because our dream is in the right direction. Whether we'll be able to fulfill it or not, we don't know, because every day the dream goes big. So this is just a passion. This is just a kida, as I always say here, and maybe the initial rejection also makes you a much better human being, because then you also say, okay, चल भाई तू कह रहा है कि कपड़ा बहुत बेकार चीज है, कपड़े पे काम नहीं करना. No, it's not a relevant subject. So now our mission is to make it relevant also. So many times the rejection also is a very big asset in our life. So you should be. I think the rejection should be a constant process in your life. People should keep rejecting you, and you keep learning from that.
You seem to have championed the cause of reusing old materials, clothes, books, stationery, so much so even taking up the menstrual cloth provision under your Not Just a Piece of Cloth initiative. How do you and your team manage the logistics of these massive tasks every day? Because you've already mentioned that 800 kilometer thing. How do you manage these kind of logistics?
It is all evolved. Fine. None of us is the learned person from the logistics or any other thing. Fine. The kind of processing we do, the kind of sorting we do, the way we developed our own processes, systems. I mean, now we have actually adopted technology, that too from this year. Otherwise, for last 20 years, our technology was Excel sheet and Google Doc and all that. I mean, not that we were not there, but with very basic, because we also understood that a large part of the area where we go and where we work, we can create softwares, we can send it to them, but the internet is not there. And if the internet is there, the bandwidth is not there. Right? It can be there for the voice, but not for the data. When me and you can struggle for 4G, 5G, even here in Delhi and all, you can imagine. So we said that we have to make it very people-friendly, very organization friendly, very geographical friendly. Also, we have to see that how much can we do localized, and how do we make sure that the trucks are used for the optimum capacity. So some of the principles of Gunj which we developed is that we said we'll not work on targets, but we'll work on the potential. That how much can I do? How much more can I do? Why should I fix up some crazy target for myself? I can certainly do much more than that. We also fix up a lot of non-negotiables for us, that even if our truck is stuck for 10 days on a border, we will never take a shortcut of paying 2,000 rupees as bribe. and that value system really worked a lot in our case. We also created a chain of logistics in this process, that how this will be sorted, what kind of gunny bag it will look like, how you will transport from a bigger city or the bigger town, and then how from there it will be transported by bike, by cycle, by boat, depending on the geographies, because our geographies are quite far off. I mean, one of the motto of Gunj also has been that go to the last part and then try to come back, instead of you start from Bombay, Delhi, and then start spreading. We didn't do that. So you will find us in Sundarbans, in Bangladesh border. You will find us in Nepal border. You will find us in Uttarakhand. Literally one thing which you must have seen on the milestones, a village called Mana. So almost till that point. But we have used multiple stakeholders. We have used the strength of local community leaders, local communities, local institutions. So like, as I said, that in Kashmir, we work with the units of Indian Army, in Uttarakhand with the Border Road Organization, many places with the smaller institutions. So that's how the entire logistics work.
Well, you invite people to come visit your processing centers and see what you do with the contributed material. What prompted you to actually come up with this method of connecting with your donor?
We have to change the narrative, right? That's the most important part, because this is your discarded material, fine. I mean, if there are no agencies and all that, we don't even know what will happen to our material. Even today, if Gunj does not exist in my life, I don't know what will happen to this kurta. All of us are facing that problem, and in many cases where agencies are not there, I mean, if you go to so many cities, we know and we have seen it, how much material is lying and going in the dustbins. Even in a country like India, where you have extreme poverty situation in many cases, and it can be very well utilized because there are no channels. And the worst part is that when you give away this material, in many cases, and the good part is big, and because of that good part, institutions like Gunj have been able to grow. But the bad part is also not a small. So you call up and you say, please send someone and collect. So we ask them that, why should I come and collect? I mean, you have to give, you make an effort. It's your problem also, no? We are giving you a chance to get rid of your problem. Let's be honest about it. You don't like this language, but that's the reality of the world.
Okay. Trying to address the core thought process. Like, if
that's
you really want to do this, actually do this.
If you are asking me whether it will go to the right place or not, okay, you have a genuine question. But then come and see the process. When you spend 1 hour and you see those couple of hundred people working, then the statement which we make is that we are not worried about you. We are not answerable to you. We're answerable to ourselves. Because you had something which you didn't want, you gave it. We are the people who are putting in so much of everything hard, time, money, energy, efforts, right? Yeah. We are worried about our effort, for sure, that these efforts should not go waste. That's why we know that it is going to the right place. We will ensure it, that it goes to the right place. How many people on this earth can touch old material of people full of sweat, full of blood, the college material, the hostel material which is not washed for a month often. I mean, all of us have gone, stayed in hostels, and we know how we live our life in hostel. How many of us can really dare to touch material of other people like this? So we need to be thankful to people. Yeah.
This actually brings me to another question, which is like very relevant to recent times. So, like, being one of the top social impact organizations in the country, like, what have these like 15 months of COVID been like you and Gunj? Because you have right now mentioned how many people would touch things which is already like having sweat or maybe even blood, right? So these 15 months of pandemic, how things have been with you and
So complicated and tough for sure. Okay, because many of us have gone through the journey ourselves, and it's a scary thing for sure. We lost this time. We also lost team members or their families. In fact, in India, almost all of us have gone through that journey, unfortunately. Uh, but I think, and then also, the entire model of Goonj, we just overnight we changed it because we realized that the second-hand material will not come. People also don't need second-hand material. There is also fear of the second-hand material when it goes to the people. I mean, in the villages and all, people have all the rights to say that you are sending COVID to us, right? Because out here you bring 1 kg of packed rice and you wash for half an hour that polythene and then keep it inside. And then the agencies and individuals all across the country, not only Goonj, they have been dealing with tons and tons of material and taking all kind of risk, and that's how many of them are getting affected by COVID or whatever. We don't know what is the nature of the spread that way. So one part is that it has been complicated, tough because of all these emotional traumas and all kind of thing. The second part is that it has been very, very satisfactory, very, very beautiful for us because never in the life we imagined that the grid which we are laying in the entire country of relationships, know-how, logistics, and all, we'll be able to use that entire grid in one go. Last year, in these 15 months, we have been able to work in 27 parts of 27 states with almost about 550 odd organizations, almost 5 million kgs of dry ration itself, almost 2.5 lakh kgs of vegetables and fruits directly procured from the farmers. And we are known for working on cloth and utensils and footwear. Right? So that's how we as an institution just realize that the same model will not work, but every single thing, every single strength associated with that model, the supply chain, the logistics, the knowledge, the partnerships, everything will work. And that's how we were really, really able to scale up. So we are happy. We are certainly happy, very happy to be honest. And we feel privileged that we are able to do something because a lot of people were forced to sit at home. But in our case, even when we were forced to sit at home because of the disease and all, we were operational. Most of us had 24/7 work. I mean, I remember my 26 days of COVID journey in May last year, and then almost thrice hospitalization after that. Right? No one outside institution knows, but the institution worked, touchwood, so well. So as a founder, or so-called founder, I think that gives you so much of satisfaction. And I remember, except 5 days in this entire journey, when in Dehradun, when I was hospitalized in July last year, and I was completely out. I didn't know whether I exist or not. I mean, it was very complicated because of some after effect and all. Except those 5 days, I don't remember any day, any moment when the mobile was even a feet away from me. So and we were operational. I think in this era, if you sail through this, if you have bread in your plate, if you have work in your hand, and if your salary is coming in your account, I think we are the really, really blessed people. All of us who are listening, who are reading, who are understanding, we all need to understand the blessings, and we all need to really, really pay back and thankful to the people, because of whom we exist, because of whom we are alive. All those big things failed, fine. The biggest possible airports, aircraft, biggest building, corporate buildings, everything failed. What worked is a municipality worker. What worked is a rickshaw puller who comes and take away your, kachra every day. All those things really, really worked. All those things which we ignored, the public health, the primary health cancer center next door, the nurses, the ASHA workers worked. Not the fanciest of those buildings. I mean, if the society understands it, I think we will come up in a better world. If we don't, it's fine. I mean, it's not that the society changed after the World War I or II. It didn't.
Well, a quick understanding of what you have just said in while addressing this question. So, all the belongings, as in complete inventory that you generate out of the things that you receive, are you sanitizing at this point of time, like a complete mass sanitization that happens,
No, it
and then it
cannot.
goes out? How
It
does it work?
cannot. It cannot. I mean, you have to open big gunny bags of rice and then make smaller packets. You can sanitize the hall where you are working. You can wear double mask. You can sanitize your hands. Right? You cannot sanitize the roads where you are loading. You cannot sanitize every single point of the truck. And in any case, the truck is will take 7 8 days and will go through all the roads and everything.
A complete chain of supply chain cannot be sanitized, but
Absolutely.
I am probably trying to focus towards the inventory part, only the inventory part.
Inventory part, we are taking full precautions, but we cannot sanitize every single unit of material. You know, that is absolutely not possible. You can sanitize the atmosphere. You can sanitize the halls, as I said, where you are operating. All that is done, of course. I mean, because unfortunately, all those precautions are there for the last 15 months. That despite being the frontline people, despite being the material management people, very few people got affected in the entire thing. So we are very cautious about things. We're cautious about distance, strict regulations, sanitation, and all that time. Maybe that is how we are able to really uh, saved ourselves from this till date, at least.
Understood. There's a lot of difficult things already, and this pandemic definitely might have multiplied what you and your team are doing. So, one last question about you, Anshu. If Goons wouldn't have happened in your life, what do you visualize yourself as to be doing today otherwise, if at all?
I don't know. One thing which is very sure is that I wouldn't have been a corporate guy. I mean, what I what I was doing before this, that I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't have been a full-time journalist, uh, although I studied that. And to be honest, I have no regret on that
You
at
wouldn't
all.
have been.
Huh?
You
I wouldn't
wouldn't
have
have
been
been.
a full-time journalist at all. And I'm happy that at least in this era, the way the larger part of the journalism has gone down, and I'm ashamed of so many of even my fraternity people. I'm being upfront on this because so it's fine. I think I would have been roaming around. I would have been singing if possible, which I forgot how to sing now. I would have been doing a lot of photography, a lot of freelance writing, and a lot of some crazy creative works. I don't know what, but uh, we've been doing something like this.
Interesting. You have mentioned certain things that brings me to this idea that we certainly must stay connected. We definitely might look at things we can do together. Also, Goonj is something that definitely interests the complete team of Dias. So, do you have a quick line to Team Dias and as well as the viewers who would be watching this conversation between us?
For the present era, and this is something I've been saying for years, but now it is more relevant that I think this world, whether the team Dias or the viewers or listeners or whosoever, we all need to understand that we have to pay back now. We don't have to give back. We have to pay back, because ultimately the fact remains that and I'm repeating myself, but because that's important, that large number of people who have been growing food for us, because of whom we are able to survive inside our homes, they remained uh, hungry, and now we call them beneficiary. So the food is grown by someone, we polish that, give it back to them, and call them beneficiary, although we are the constant beneficiary of, of their labor. And people who have been making houses for us, who have been assembling these laptops and laying these transmission lines and everything, or the telecom line, they remained homeless. They were walking on the road, not me and you. So I think we have eaten up a huge amount of their share, their subsidies. So it's time to pay back, number one. Number two, do remember that uh, we actually had a big slap on us in the last May, June, when people, April, May, or March, April, when people didn't trust us. We have to build a society where we have that kind of trust. That's the second part. And the third most important part is that I think for the time being, we don't need thinkers anymore. We need doers, we need action. None of us should really think that we are small or I cannot do or two of us cannot do. All of us are very powerful people. We all have a lot of potential. Almost every single initiative in the world is always initiated by one person and then a lot of other people, and the second person joins. So let's also recognize our potential. Let's also recognize that a virus has given us an opportunity to do something good. Okay? If we don't do it now, we will never be able to do that. Let me be very honest about it. Because if we do not, when the society is in the survival mode, and you can play that role, that because of your role, more people can survive. And if you do not play that role, you will never be able to forgive yourself if you think about it. If you don't think about it, your life is absolutely perfect. You can go on the way thousands of other people and the richest possible people are going through. Because ultimately the rich become richest in the pandemic when the poor become financially poorest.
That was an insightful conversation indeed. Perspectives that will push to think in different ways. I would take this opportunity to agree with you. Your philosophy, let's stop talking about changing the world. Let us first improve the world we have. My sincere gratitude and best wishes to you on behalf of Team Dias and on behalf of all my countrymen whose lives you and Team Gunj have improved over the years. Keeping our fingers crossed to have more doers, as you said, and than thinkers in this journey of improvement. Thank you. Thanks, Anshu, for being with us here. Wishing all the luck to Team Gunj and you. I'm sure this session, this conversation between us will inspire many Indians, many youngsters in times to come. Thank you. Thanks.